Hey, welcome back to Album April. It's April 15th, and today I listened to Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses. Finally, something from the 80s. There are 4 80s albums out of the 30, and we almost made it halfway through the month without getting any of them. Appetite for Destruction was the debut album from Guns N' Roses, and it sold very well. 30 million copies sold. It even had a #1 hit single with Sweet Child of Mine, so yeah, it was a pretty big deal at the time. My first impression of Appetite for Destruction is that I really hope a lot of this is like playing a character, playing it up, because otherwise this is extremely hyperbolic. This album is sex, drugs, and rock and roll brought to its absolute conclusion. The destruction being talked about in the title is self-destruction. There's a song about heroin addiction, they're dropping F-bombs all over the place, they clearly want to present themselves as like bad boys. For the most part, the sound is very bare-boned. At the time, Guns N' Roses had a singer, 2 guitarists, a bassist, and a drummer. And for some reason, that drummer had a cowbell. They branched out a little bit in Think About You, but for the most part, the album sticks to those instruments. Also, it goes without saying, Slash is an amazing guitarist. There's usually a kick-ass solo at the end of every song. I'd say that the main issue with me comes from Axl Rose, whose voice is certainly very distinctive, but can get grating at times. But It's So Easy and Mr. Brownstone are also sung by Axl Rose, and they sound like a completely different person. Someone who's just as obnoxious in personality, but not quite as obnoxious in vocal tone. So it was a choice for him to sound like that, and for most of the songs, the choice works out okay. Sometimes his voice gets kind of grating. My favorite song from Appetite for Destruction is absolutely Paradise City, which to me is one of the classics. From beginning to end, this song is amazing. It starts out with some really good vocal harmonies and good percussion, and then, throughout the song, there's always, new little things to listen to. And some of the choruses, the bass is really pronounced, and of course, we got that epic guitar solo at the very end. I consider Paradise City to be one of the best songs of the entire 80s. It is so much fun. My second favorite song was Think About You. There were a lot of really good musical moments in this song, some really interesting percussion, a part of it where the guitars sound different, I don't know how to describe it, like steel guitar maybe? Most of the songs on this album are very well written when it comes to composition. But when it comes to lyrics, that brings us to the next question of parts of this album that I didn't like. I didn't like some of the songs where it really just showed off a very obnoxious personality, and Axl Rose is famous for being a horrible person to get along with. And a lot of that ego does come through in some of these songs. Night Train, Out to Get Me, It's So Easy. I didn't even like Welcome to the Jungle very much. This album is at its best when the lyrics are not constantly inflating Axl's ego. But that doesn't change the fact that I do believe that this album holds up. Say what you want about Guns N' Roses, they are some very talented musicians. I've heard them be described as glam metal, and I think that fits pretty well. They're like a nice bridge between glam rock and heavy metal. Right in between Kiss and Metallica, you get Guns N' Roses. And there is absolutely a place for that kind of music. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow.